Alright, so here's my 94 Mustang. A couple projects that need to be done with this thing. Only drive it during the summer months here, so I'll be honest, I don't keep up with the maintenance like I should. Last year I know I changed the antifreeze. I mean, I change the oil once a year. I never get that many miles on this thing, but the Serpentine belt on this thing I've been talking about replacing for quite some time, and I finally decided I should change it. I broke down and spent the 30 bucks to buy a new belt. Let's see if I can zoom in here. So, I mean, there's some... Oh, it's not going to zoom in. It's not going to focus, is it? No. Oh, you can kind of see it there. There's cracks in the belt. There are a lot of cracks in this belt. There's cracks all over the place. You can probably see some of them down there. This is the original belt. It has about 50... there's at least 50,000 miles on this belt, but it's original, so it's 22 years old. Yeah, this belt's 22 years old. So it's time to change. I think in order to do this, because I don't have the actual tool to take the tension off the tensioner, I'm going to pull this cover off, and then I'm probably going to see if I can get this to come up and pull off the overflow out so I get enough room in there. So let me do that and then we'll come back here. Okay, so I got off this plastic part that was up here, like there, and then I also took out these two 8mm bolts that hold the overflow bottle, and then I also pulled the 6mm bolt out here that holds the actual bottle in place, the overflow. And I just used this bungee to keep this out of the way, and then what we're looking to get at is this little square 3/8 opening here, and I believe we just push down to take the tension off the belt. And I don't know, I'm looking here and I see two marks, and I'm wondering if one of these doesn't have something to do with gauging, let's see if I can get in there, gauging whether or not the belt is good or bad. If this marking means something, if the belt is stretched out. I'm pretty sure, I know I had a car that had marks on this. I want to say it was either a Lincoln Town car or a Crown Victoria that had marks. But boy, we even see this belt here that looks terrible, huh? So yeah, that's what that looks like. I'll move that out in a second. And this is just the stuff I pulled off. There's undercoating spray that was from the factory when they undercoated the car, and then that's the plastic piece on top there that I pulled off. I think that's two pieces, yeah. Alright, so let me get my socket here together and I'll take some more. Alright, so you should be able to see it there. I'm going to try to do this. And I'm finding with making these YouTube videos of like showing people how I do stuff, like you get to be really good at like not only doing it, but doing the stuff like one-handed. So here you can see I'm pushing down. You can see the tension is coming off the belt. It's loose. So at some point here now I have to figure out how I can pull this belt off and still shoot the film. So I'm just going to pull it off the alternator top there, and then get it out of the way of the tensioner, and then let the tensioner come up there, and the tensioner's tight now against its stop. So now it's just a matter of pulling the belt off. You really don't need to look at how it goes because believe it or not, there's a diagram. So alright, so that's that. Let me get the belt pulled off here. So here's the belt I just took off. And this is, like I said, the original. It's a Motorcraft belt. And this is probably the crack here that made me the most nervous, because this looks like it's getting there in the way of being all the way through. So, and then if we, I don't think there's any other spots in this belt. Oh, there's a spot here that looks kind of iffy too. And if we flip it over on the inside, you can see it's all cracked up. But I mean, it still seems pretty extremely pliable for this belt being 22 years old. So I think what I'm gonna do is probably stick it in this package and keep it as a spare, just in case. So the belt I'm putting on here is a Gates. The number is K061058, and I believe if the guy gave me the right belt, this is for Mustangs with factory air conditioning, because apparently a dealer installed air conditioning uses a different length belt. So this one says it's 13/16 by 106 3/8, or 20 millimeter by 2,701 millimeters. So this is the Motorcraft belt. This is the original. I like the fact it says Made in USA on it. The new belt here that I got is the Gates belt. It says that it's made in Mexico. Come on. No, it says made in Mexico. You have to take my word for it. The camera doesn't want to focus on this. And get to refocus. No. So there we go. So a couple notes here. First of all, this Gates belt is a little bit longer. I'm assuming it just hasn't been as stretched out as much. I wouldn't say it's that much longer, but I held both belts together, and the Motorcraft one was definitely a little longer. So this one's obviously probably not stretched in. I don't think the surfaces need to be cleaned up at all. They look pretty good. Here's the tensioner. What I'm doing here is just checking to see if there's any play in it, and it's quiet as it spins. There's no noise. There's no back and forth wiggle. This idler pulley on the top here, which is a different story. If I take it, and you can't see it. I don't know if you can hear it, but it makes a little bit of noise back and forth, which leads me to believe that the bearing could be going on it. And then when I spin it, you can hear it makes all sorts of noise. It could be a bad bearing, or a bearing starting to get a little worn. To me, that's kind of noisy. And the fact that I can wiggle it, that's how we used to test bearings when I worked on farm equipment. If you could get it to do this, we replaced the bearing. So I don't know, maybe that's another thing I should look into, but I probably won't. Oh, and this is a plastic gear. That's cool. I don't know, maybe they make a different gear. I'll have to look and see. It looks like it just comes off with this star bolt here. Probably something pretty easy to change. So everything else looks fine. I checked all the other pulleys. They seem like they're tight. There's nothing that's loose. And like I said, the idler here would be the one that I'm worried about, or the tensioner, not the idler. And that one's quiet. So that's what you want. And it seemed like there was plenty of spring tension yet on there. So I'm going to try roping this thing in here. I don't know if there's a good way of me showing you how to do this, because I'm going to need both hands for this. Alright, I don't know if this is going to focus or not, but it shows the routing of the belt here. So this top pulley here, that's your alternator. This is your tensioner, it comes around. This is your air pump. And then the flat side of the belt runs around the water pump. It runs underneath your crankshaft. It catches these bottom AC, the compressor, comes around the power steering on the top. And then this is that idler that was noisy, it just runs underneath that. And then you're back to your alternator again. So that's what it should look like. And I think I got it. I'll be honest, it took me a little bit here to get it the way it was supposed to be without looking at it. So basically just snakes its way through. You want to make sure that you got it so that it's sitting in the pulley correctly, not so it's favoring. The water pump part here I'm not too concerned about, because once you start it, I think this belt will kind of right itself to sit where it needs to sit. But it looks like it's on the crank the right way, so I don't think it's going to jump off. I thought about bumping it a couple times just to make sure it's on there, but I'm more of a let's put it back together and start it up and see what happens type of guy. So this is how I would change a Serpentine belt, apparently. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna put it all back together here and then we'll give it a go. Okay, we're gonna start it up here. Hopefully nothing comes flying out. I didn't put the plastic cover back on. I still left that off just in case. But I did check underneath to make sure that the belt was on the pulleys on the bottom. And I just installed the plastic, or the overflow bottle. Here we go. Let's give her a go. Alright, so it sounds like it's running fine. You can see the Gates logo there running through every once in a while. I do have underdrive pulleys on here on the alternator, water pump, and crank. So it does run a little bit slower. It gain a little bit of horsepower. Back in the day, that's what they say you should do. I don't know. Looks like it's running good to me. I probably don't want to get the lanyard of the camera here in the belt. I give it too much here. The engine's pretty cold yet. Alright, so it sounds fine to me. Had I been doing this repair back in the day, I probably would have bought a motorcraft belt, and I would have been super stupid about, you know, putting on a Gates belt. But I don't want to say I'm older and wiser. I don't think I am. Older, and maybe I don't know. I have different responsibilities now. Back in the day, I had a girlfriend, this car, and a job. Now I have a wife, 2 kids, a house, and a career. So, and this car kind of takes a back seat to all of those. But I do like to drive it. I did put insurance on it to drive it, and I don't feel comfortable driving with that belt. So I'm like, you know what? I'll put this belt on. And then I decided to check the tires, because I did go to work the other day with this car. And when I came home, I checked the air pressures, and I think maximum PSI on these tires, which are BFG 245 4517s, are 44 PSI. And I think one of the tires was actually 15 PSI, so that was a little low. That probably wasn't good. I usually run, I think, 35. And these tires are, I think the date code on here said 2002, which would be about right, because they got the rims and the tires as a package from Tire Rack back in 2002. So tread's not terrible. You know, the tread looks pretty good. The problem I have is on the other side here. I think is it this side or that side? No, I think I had the right tire, the correct tire, I should say, not the right. Yeah, this tire isn't it. It's the other side. So the back driver's side rear tire has got some cracking going on. And this tire, to me too, it looks white, like it's dried out. Let's see if I can find it. There's some separation going on. Oh, right in here. Probably can't see it, but there's some right there. There's a crack. There's a crack there. There's a crack up here. So right where this tread meets the sidewall, it's starting to crack. Here there's cracks too. And that kind of makes me nervous, because I could see the tread flying off, because these tires are pretty old. I don't know what they say for tires. If it's 5 years you should have them changed, or 10. These are what, 14? So it's definitely time. I knew the tread was getting down there, and I know the other day when I went around the corner, the thing slid out on me, and I wasn't hammering it or anything. I was driving it like a sensible human, and it was very slippery. So the tires have probably gotten hard. They're probably getting dry rotted. So again, what I would do back in the day, I'd just buy a set of 4. I'd put on BF Goodrich, because that's the only type of tire that I believed in. Still kind of do. I like BFGs. But yeah, this tire here in the front looks fine on the passenger side. It looks dry, but I don't see any of those cracks. At least not on the outside. Probably should check the insides too. But again, because I'm older and other responsibilities, and because I do want to still drive the car, this is going to sound really ridiculous. I think I might just buy 1 tire and put it on, and then I'll put on the next 3 next summer, because I really don't want to spend the money. Also, this tire size is like the very minimum you can go with the rim. This rim is a 9-inch rim, and you can tell it's pretty much flush with the rim. I'd like to go up a size to a 255 45 17, and then I'd buy probably the most inexpensive tire I can find that's still like somewhat name brand. I think I saw Dunlop. I want to say there was a Bridgestone. I'm not going to put a Fusion tire on, but I know the reviews. I don't even know. It was a tire name brand. I don't remember what it was. A lot of complaints about how the tires were completely worn out at 40,000 miles. And what was the other thing that was something about 6,000 miles and the tires had cupping. I don't put on 1,000 miles a year, so like if I put on a tire that someone's getting 40,000 miles out of, that's like a lifetime tire to me, because I just don't put the mileage on. So, and if I can get another 10, 12 years, that'll put me in my 50s. I'll put on a nice set of tires then. Hopefully then I got a little bit more money floating around that I can put on a nicer set of tires. But I am gonna upsize to the next size tires so they're a little bit wider, because I think these tires I got on here are actually for 8-inch rim, and these are 17 by 9, so I'll go with a 255, which should make it a little bit wider. And then I'll probably just do one. I'll just take one and have one put on, watch them over the summer here, and then next summer put on another 3. So there you go. It's kind of the update on the old Mustang here.